Hello, I'm Starr Fuentes, and welcome to Casa Alma. This is Ra, my bird, and Bosco, and Merlin. I hope you enjoy Conversations with Starr. Remember, there's a certain piece in there that is perfect for you. And as you grow and change, review the video again, because another piece will be perfect for you. So now that I've talked a little bit, I'd like to take some questions from the group. Is there anything you'd like to know about spirituality or metaphysics?
How does the photon belt affect our spirituality and consciousness evolution?
The photon belt, we're in the middle of the photon belt right now, and as you notice, everyone's learning faster. There's many more teachers and much more material out there. So the photon belt gives us more choices that we can use in a quicker fashion to enhance our information. But until we combine our information with experience, it does not become spiritual reality or spiritual foundation.
When we're working with clients for healing, sometimes we see some dramatic changes and sometimes we don't. Why?
When you work with Source to heal, you have to remember that the Source is in alignment with the original soul contract of the person. And if a person is supposed to learn from a disease or learn why they created that disease, and that's their soul agreement, then there's nothing you can do. Nothing you can be for this person, and their soul contract will always win. And if they have in their soul contract that they can choose, they can choose. Most people do. There's a small percentage, about a third of the people have no choice in how their experience is going to be, although they did have that choice before birth.
So can we help them change their soul contract? Or can we lead them in that direction?
You can give them solutions toward that, but if you give them answers, they feel great for an hour, and 2 hours later, they don't feel so great. So lead them, give them solutions, lead them towards solutions, and stay away from answers.
What happens on a subconscious and soul level when two people fall in love?
Wow, that's a big question. What happens on a subconscious and soul level when two people fall in love? I'd say there's about 33 things that happen, and this is probably not an appropriate time to get into it, but the two most important things that happen on a subconscious and a soul level is that you immediately become reflections for each other, and you immediately get into a deep relationship. Well, whatever you're going to do is you're going to affect the energy of that person so they become the highest possible vibration. And if they don't, you quit or they quit. So basically our sacred agreement about relationship is to keep on each other spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. If that stops happening in the relationship, then the relationship stops, whether you physically stay in it or not. That's a good class. Sometimes we'll do that. Write that down.
There's a lot of emphasis now on living in the present, not focusing on the past or projecting yourself into the future. But in my own life, I've tried to do that, and it's not as easy as it sounds. How do you do that, or how can you do that?
About 95% of your day needs to be spent in now. Please remember, now spelled backwards is one. You've already won. And basically what you need to do is what am I going to do today? Doom, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what have I done today? Have I missed anything? And the rest of it should be in that being. And when you're cooking. You're right there with that meal. When you're doing things, that's when you get out of the now. When you're thinking about the past, you're reacting to an energy that's already happened. And when you're thinking about the future, emotional energies are up and you have fear or some type of anxiety about what's going to be in the future. So it's another state of reaction. Staying in now time lets you be conscious, lets you act versus reacting. So when you be in the now, you've actually won.
Starr, how do you deal with long-term stress and continually be in the now? Because I know that stress is one thing that affects not only clients but healers too. And as we deal with clients as healers, we're definitely affected by the stress around us. We have it, it's an ongoing thing. It's our milieu, so to speak. So as a healer, and as a person, how do we deal with that?
Well, first of all, if you don't have a practice, then the stress is automatically doubled. And if you don't have a daily meditation or a daily thing, let's say, for example, I know your practice is playing computer games. And that is the way you deal with your stress. It may not be a very high spiritual practice, but it is where your conscious mind lets go, your subconscious and unconscious mind can get information. You deal with long-term stress by taking very good care of yourself, by having your practice, by getting nurturing, and by getting healings. Getting what you're giving will usually get you out of the long-term stress.
If you've chosen to be of service, and you had touched on that, how do you actually perform that service without being resentful or having resentment come into play?
Well, resentment will come into play until you're totally clear. Whether resentment comes into play for 1% of the day or 100% of the day is your choice. Service, when I do service, all my wants and needs are met. When I do Starr stuff for Starr, only my needs and 1 or 2 of my wants are met. I've noticed that when I do service, what I'm resentful about is the specific energy surrounding that service, my expectations of what I'm going to get. And please remember what I said. When you do service, this may not be where you get your food from or your energy from. Service is done unconditionally. How that will be balanced in your life is usually from another source. It's really important. Resentment comes with expectations. Expectations are in the future. Expectations are ways we set ourselves up to fail or the people around us to fail, and a good way of becoming a great victim.
What about life after death? Do we survive a physical death?
Yes, I have looked into people and I've actually seen them in past lives. I've looked in people's eyes and saw their occupations and people in their lives. Many, many people have this talent where they can look at someone and see. Now, it's just imagine, we've had so many souls, it's like going to a vast wardrobe in eternity space. And just like we put these clothes on today, we put on a body to give us spiritual lessons, to have the correct genes, to have the appropriate astrological sign, to have many, many different things come together to have a soul contract. And then we learn. We learn, or we choose not to learn that lifetime and come back and learn another lifetime. And then we move on to another body. Yes, an essence and energy of us survives after death. Does the physical body? No. Does the emotional body? Probably not.
How would you define destiny?
I would define destiny together with fate. Fate is something that is written in your soul contract. For example, fate is something that is probably unescapable, that you've given up your free will about this lifetime. Fate could be that you were born in a city, or you choose to live, or choose to live by default by not moving anyplace else in a particular region. Destiny could be a couple of things. It could be marrying this man or that man, both of whom you have karma with. Destiny could be a particular moment in life when you look up and say, okay, I give up. And then you live as a housewife in the suburbs for the rest of your life. The other side of the destiny could be that you go out there and become an awesome businesswoman. Destinies are paths, choices of paths that you can walk on. Fate is predetermined by soul contract what is going to happen to you. So fate and destiny, just a little bit of difference in them. And remember, before our soul steps into a body, we have all the free will we want when we write that soul contract. And we walk through the veil and we forget all about the contract and have to figure it out when it goes. Please understand something about spirituality. The minute you have it figured out, you get about 10 minutes and everything works like that, or 10 days, or 10 months, and then the laws change when you move to another spiritual level. And I'm not talking about the laws of integrity or consciousness, but the laws on how that level works changes. Once you have it, you need to move on to other deeper, higher, different vibrations. So it's always like a constant moving puzzle for us. As soon as we get it, we get to play with it for a while, sometimes only 3 or 4 minutes, sometimes 3 or 4 years. And then we move to a new level where spirit, source, our soul asks more of us. Sometimes physically, sometimes mentally, sometimes emotionally or spiritually, sometimes relationship-wise. Spirit will ask us to be more, to vibrate, to deal with more emotions, less emotions, to deal with more facts, less facts. The rules change just about as soon as you get them.
What happens, though, if the Spirit tells you to do these things, to change, to move forward, to evolve, and you resist, especially in relationships? How do you save that relationship if one is moving forward and one is staying back? How can you, do you survive, do you save the relationship, which of course you can't, by denying yourself, or do you move forward and hope that the relationship survives?
Well, that's a lesson in itself. The chief part of your question that comes to me right away is doing. And most of the ways that I've found that people have saved relationships is by being. And it's sort of like you and your significant other are running up a pair of stairs, and you move up 1 step or 2 steps and you go, come on, it's great up here. Come on, change your vibration. Give up smoking. Do this. Come on, get healthy. And your significant other is like a goat or donkey. But I find sometimes that if we don't say anything and we run up 4 or 5 steps, and they can see the significant change in us, and we're standing up there 4 or 5 steps just waving and not manipulating, that is the greatest way, by being, to save a relationship, by being. And don't try to have your mate change at the rate that you're changing. Remember, only a person can save themselves. Only a person can change themselves. The more we try to change other people, the more resistance we create with them. And please understand there's a universal bylaw that goes, what you resist persists. So whatever the person is resisting is going to be brought up into their face. The more resistance there is, the more different ways spirit and synchronicity is going to bring it up for them.
Do you think it's possible to be too much in service? You're in service to your family, to your spouse, to your children, to your employer, to your master.
Sounds like you're being a martyr there.
Is that what you're doing? Is it possible to?
I'm not so. It depends what attitude you have. If you're doing it because you think it's going to get you something instead of being it because this is how you want to be, then it's not healthy. If you're part doing and part being it because it's a spiritual choice, you're making progress. And if you're being it, then it becomes food and mana for you.
Any way you go about it, you're going to get your lesson.
Every way that you go about it, you're going to get your lesson. And your lessons will come to you. Your lessons will come to you in a cave in India very slowly because you're not interacting with a lot of people and you're not in relationship. In a community that supports you spiritually, mentally, emotionally, maybe not necessarily materially, physically, but a community of people that support you and can speak their truth, your lessons will come quicker. Now, there's not a fixed number of lessons that we can handle. We can't, when we set up a soul contract, we say, I'll come and handle lessons 1 to 5. It's 1 through as many as I can handle. There's no ceiling on what you can handle this lifetime. And Spirit, no matter what happens in our life, Spirit never gives us more than we can handle. It's our mind that thinks we can't handle it.